2, 1. All right, welcome back to LTS podcast, or the LTS Wrestling Podcast, and we got Cuzzo Nick in the chat here today. How's it going, gentlemen?
What's up, guys? Hey, before we even start, I just want to plug. Got my LTS Wrestling Podcast T-shirt. Sorry if the light's kind of reflecting on it.
Oh.
If you guys want your merch, go to LTSshop.com. No, I'm just kidding.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet, but soon.
Not yet.
We're gonna manifest it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that though. Like representing the islands right there.
Yeah. You know.
So yeah, like dude, we're gonna just jump right into this. This is gonna be a little bit of a Road to Mania episode for what's transpiring in WWE at the moment. So obviously, Royal Rumble happened a couple of weeks ago. Jey Uso winning the men's Royal Rumble. We got Charlotte winning the women's Royal Rumble. So clearly, they are going to be choosing their respective opponents, which happened recently. We're going to touch a little bit about that and go into some of the, kind of speculated or what's being teased as like potential Mania feuds headed to actual Mania, which is happening in Las Vegas this year. So yeah, right off the top of the bat here, Jey Uso chooses Gunther. We were kind of, discussing whether or not Jey was going to go Gunther or Cody. I think me and Nick, initially when we first started, we were like inclined to like, or actually like, I guess okay with the idea, like, oh, Jey chooses Gunther, that'd be cool. Like clearly there's a story behind that, but also like intrigued where if he does choose Cody, but he's clearly made his decision. We don't know exactly if this is going to be finalized or like it clearly looks like a final indication that they are going to go to Mania and have their match, but who knows? Anything could happen, right? Like we could be in for a swerve. But for the meantime, we know that's this feud. This is, I believe, their fourth time against each other. Now this being a Mania main event, how are you guys feeling about this matchup?
Big hype. I am very hyped about this matchup. I didn't know that they faced each other 4 times, but
three
I am
times
familiar with Jey. Oh yes,
this will be their fourth time. Yeah.
Dude, I want this because I have followed Jey Uso. So when he does his, when he goes in the ring and he says, "You guys been with me week in week," and he goes over there and sheds his soul, and I feel him because from the ground on up, get it out the mud kind of guy too, right? I root for them like that. And then here comes this dude Gunther, guy I'm not familiar with, but I'm very familiar with his game because he makes me believe it. I don't like you, sir. Like, how do you come interrupt? Let him talk first and then interrupt him, right? And then I'm like, and then he tells him, "You're not on my level. You are not main event, Jey Uso. Why do you keep forcing your way to want to be what you are not?" What? Who's this guy to say some stuff like that? And to find out they faced each other 3 times. I'm about to go watch all their matches. Oh, I'm so excited for this. Because then, even though I said I fumbled the topic on the fantasy thing, this is one of my fantasy things I wanted to see. Because of that storyline build up. You said he can't be main event. He's going to come see you. And we are going to use with that man. Let's go. We are going to use with that man. Gunther, you're going to get it. I don't know. See, look, I don't even know if he won how many times. Gunther probably whooped him up. But here goes Jey, and I'm thinking he's going to get it. He got it if they finalize it.
Okay.
He got it.
He matched it. Those. I like you rocking those.
Yeah.
Hey, I was gonna put the I didn't get a white marker or to put yeet on it. So it will. Next time you see me, probably it will. It will be there.
For
hopefully
sure.
with the wind from Jey.
All right.
Yeah. I was when I heard that Jey originally chose Gunther, I wasn't too big of a fan of it. I was like, man, I really did want to see Cody versus Jey. I thought they would have put on a pretty good match. But when I really sat back and thought about it, I understand why they put Jey versus Gunther. So if Jey had won the title from Cody, that puts him back on SmackDown, right? And the whole thing was to move him to Raw. to split him away from the bloodline, and you can't have Jey as the champion and Roman on the same brand, and then so you can't have them on the same brand, and then they're gonna end up feuding, and then they're gonna make the whole bloodline thing totally stale. So I think that was a good thing for Jey to pick Gunther. You know what I mean? That keeps him away from the bloodline. If they're gonna integrate the bloodline into a story with Jey later on, you know what I mean? They could, especially if Jey wins the championship, and then have Roman be jealous and all this other stuff. But as of right now, I mean, I think when I really sat down and thought about it, I was like, that was actually a really good choice for Jey to go up against Gunther. And bro, I'm a huge Gunther fan. There's stars that come off cocky, and they don't deserve that cockiness. You know what I mean? They're cocky, but they don't show out. But Gunther's one of those guys where he talks a lot of crap, and he
backs it up.
Exactly. He has the skills to back it up. So
he walks the talk.
Yeah. Exactly. Gunther is one of those guys. He walks the walk. He talks the talk, and I'm kind of excited for that match.
Yeah. Dude, I love hearing that too. I love hearing that because, again, I don't know him too much, but I know he is something. And to get the stamp for Iron Man Nick and because of Husky Boy right there, oh my God, that even fires me up even more. You are a Goliath. And I want to, I want him to go after. Oh, this is going to be nice, man.
And that's a good way to look at it too. It is kind of like a David and Goliath, right? Gunther is this Goliath, this really huge behemoth of a star, somebody who, you know what I mean, he takes everybody down. And then you got Jey, the underdog, the guy who really is, a lot of people will say he is still a mid-carder. I mean, yes, he has the fan engagement. Yes, he's over. 100% he's over. But long-term storytelling, we look back at his match with his brother, right? Kind of underwhelming. Even he said it himself. And factors played into it too, that they did have to cut their time for that match. So the match was shortened, so they really couldn't tell the story that they wanted to with their match. But that one was just, that match was kind of underwhelming. So I'm hoping that they can jive off of each other during the match, and they just hit us with a banger.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and it's interesting because I know you were saying, Nick, that if Jey had gone the Cody route and somehow down the line, we would initially probably see him on the SmackDown brand, and clearly we got Roman on there, having them cross paths. See, I don't see nothing wrong with that. Timing is probably the one thing I'm sure plays into all this, because the timing of how this bloodline story just kind of seemingly ended with the whole Solo and Roman at Netflix. The Netflix debut was kind of okay, we're kind of moving on from this, right? So to kind of reignite it that quick, just a few months down, with Jey winning and then being on SmackDown, I see that being as a reason why they're not going that route. Then you did talk about the whole David and Goliath thing. It's just I see why this makes sense. To some other people, it may be we just saw them do this how many times? They just did a Saturday Night Main Event. Jey never came close to winning, or he lost all three matches they had against each other. So it's why do we want to see them run it back again, especially at a Mania? But again, I can see both sides to this. So at the end of the day, I think here Jey Uso, yes, he is probably one of the top baby faces right now in the company. Clearly over, not just with the crowd, but business wise, the merch. Why not give this guy where the credit where credit's due? Give him the title. I think that's what's going to end up happening. That crowd at Allegiant is going to just explode when it comes to him winning the title. And even I think the only thing that I take away from this that is not necessarily a positive is it almost gives you a little bit of a predictability aspect, where we are pretty much expecting Jey to win this. But I think when it does happen, and I think it will, the reaction, the response to the crowd is it's gonna be insane. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be like the yes chant. You know, when Daniel Bryan won it, and to me, I think when you got the crowd doing that, it's a win. It's a win in my opinion.
Also, I wanted to bring up that, like, you know how you were talking about bringing it up, the Bloodline thing, how it's too close together. That's also why I think it would be a bad idea for, when I really looked at it, it's a bad idea for Jey to go against Cody and win it over there.
Right.
Is because they've got so much going on with the Bloodline right now. And while Roman might not be directly involved as far as the whole Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa storyline, right? There's so much going on, and it all revolves around the world title.
Right.
The dissension in the family. So I think if Jey had gone back to SmackDown, it would get too messy. There'd be too much going on at one time for everybody to really digest. So I think them focusing on Solo kind of being not himself because he lost the Ulufala to Roman, and then the whole spiking, and then you know what I mean, and then Jacob, him are kind of feuding right now. It keeps it palatable.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm actually going to segue into that. I don't necessarily have this on the notes, so sorry for going off the cuff here. But
no.
Let's talk about this, right? Because the whole Solo Jacob thing now is kind of like coming to fruition, and we also still have Roman that we need to kind of integrate into the mix. And I think there's teases with him and Seth, right? So like this is going to be kind of interesting because the way the Rumble ended, you had that little situation with Seth, Roman, and CM Punk, where a lot of people are saying, okay, we might see that as a triple threat match at Mania. But it's like, ideally, I would want to say, let Roman and Seth do their thing. Like, clearly long-term storytelling here. We go back to the Shield days, the turn, and, like Seth now kind of coming off as a heel-ish based on the actions he had done on Roman at the Rumble. I feel like they don't need a title here. There's clearly a big, like backing with their whole story. Let's have it. I think that would be a great match. And then on top of that, before we even started this podcast, Nick, I've been calling this a long time ago. Jacob Fatu and Solo is going to end up at Mania. Now we're seeing this come into fruition, where clearly Solo has kind of like, I don't know, it lost his place, I would say, after losing the Ulufala. There was also that time, right? I think it was kind of like a little interview, or not an interview, but like a little like story edit with Solo and Tama Tonga, where Solo said, if I lose this Ulufala to Roman, you will acknowledge him as the tribal chief. Which kind of
I keep that in the back of my mind all the time.
Yeah, so like you like taking that into consideration, right? Like you could already see like a little foundation where like Solo is gonna split from this 2.0, and who's gonna like take that place, or who's gonna like come up? Jacob Fatu, because we've been seeing this too. This whole like I love you Solo thing. I want to say like this is something that I've already saw like from the get-go, where Jacob Fatu is gonna be another guy that comes up, eventually takes Solo's spot. But before that even happens, these two are going to go at it. May not have come out the way I anticipated, but I always felt like these two were going to clash heads eventually and hopefully at Mania. So yeah, like thoughts on that part. I know we were talking a lot about a lot of Bloodline stuff here, so yeah.
Right. So like remember, so like you were saying, that one specific clip of Solo saying, if I lose this Ulufala to Roman, you guys are going to acknowledge him too, right? And so one of the things I hung on when Jacob Fatu went to meet up with Solo, when he was walking through the hallway into the locker room, and then was it in that spot? Was on SmackDown where Solo was talking about bringing the title back home to the family, right? And even Jacob had mentioned it while he was on the mic, that he's going to bring the title back home to his family where it should have never left. But at this point, the Bloodline 2.0 is kind of broken up. And so what does Jacob Fatu mean by family, right? Because if they're going to keep to that, where Solo said, if I lose the Ulufala, then you're going to acknowledge Roman, does that now mean Roman is his family? Because remember, Solo grabbed him by the arm. He said, "Hey, Jacob, I love you," and Jacob fucking straight up, basically just brushed him off.
He dismissed him, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And then also that one follow up when I think Jacob and Cody were in the ring cutting promos, and he mentioned like, "Oh, if anybody's gonna talk to Solo, I'm gonna be like the first one." You know what I mean? So that you could, and the way he said it too, it didn't sound like it was a good thing. So yeah, they're clearly on a path here to set up their feud, right? And obviously the ending of SmackDown where they had a little bit of like that confrontation, Solo hitting Tama and then Jacob getting pushed into Solo. So it's like, man, I saw this coming. I saw this coming. So it's just like I wanted to throw that out there. And then like I said, Seth and Roman. Like what's more to be said there? I like seeing these guys work together. They're great in their aspect of storytelling their feud. And gosh, like I don't think they've had a Mania match with just them two. Outside of the fact that Seth cashed in on Roman and Brock that I think at Mania 31. So yeah, if I recall, there hasn't been a Mania match between these two. So if we're gonna see it, I think this is gonna be the Mania.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good match for Mania because between those two, there's enough story behind the both of them that they don't need a title for their match. It could just be "I hate you," you know what I mean? I hate you, and let's go at it.
That's a great point.
Yeah, there's enough. Yeah, there's enough there for them to work a match.
Oh yeah. I think that might be kind of like a show, steal the show kind of moment. You know what I mean? These two, because it's like, man, it almost feels like going back to the Shield days. Like, were you a big fan of Seth? Or were you a big fan of Roman? Obviously, we had Ambrose in there too, but like these two right here, man. It's like, man, I could see potentially the crowd split on this one, and it would be kind of interesting because if that happens, that's kind of like the moments that would really make a match even more, relevant or even more captivating, right? We go back and talk about like the Rock and Hogan thing, right? Like back at I forgot which Mania, but in Toronto, and you just saw the crowd split, or it almost even like was more pro Hogan at that time. But it's just like, dude, like we could be in line for something as epic as that with these two specifically, Roman and Rollins.
Yeah, I know this might ruffle some feathers, but I honestly, if they're gonna go down that route with Roman versus Seth, I wouldn't mind for them to be the main event for night one and have Jey and Gunther open the show.
Possibly, because it's not like it's never happened before, right? Yeah. Seth and Drew opened up last year's night 2, right?
Yep.
For the title.
Yep. So that was a good match. Yeah,
great way to start off the day, or start off that day, right?
Yeah, they really did set the tempo for that night.
The rest of that card, yeah. Anything from you, Kozo, on that? Any of the Bloodline stuff?
Nah, man, excited to see it, Ed. I want to see it all, and I like that they made room for like that concept of not having to have those two have to contend for a title, Seth and Roman, dude, and you can just get to enjoy that. Like that gives opportunity for others, like a Jey, to go get him one.
For sure.
So yeah, I like that. You just add more.
Yeah,
Hulk on steroids. We'll do more of that.
And it's interesting too because we have CM Punk kind of like integrated in a little bit of that mix here, and I think it's totally fine. Don't throw him into that match. I think Seth and Roman will be fine, and with Punk, kind of segueing into his situation for Mania, right? There's a lot of like putting him into the match with potentially a match with Cody and Cena. I don't know how that's going to transpire just because, we got both of them involved at the Elimination Chamber. So it's like, it's got to be one of them unless they have some sort of crazy finish where they can't conclude on an actual winner. If it's Cena and Punk I think it'll actually be CM Punk and Cena as the last two in the chamber. But like, if they come up with a crazy finish where it's like, okay, it's going to be both of them against Cody, that'd be kind of wild, but I don't even think it's needed. I ultimately think Punk, if anything, should have this whole story that is kind of like been teased with him and Logan Paul. because the fact that Logan Paul, right, obviously has no opponent right now, and he's also involved in the chamber. So I feel like we might see a little bit of things happening between Punk and Logan, and just specifically in that match. But then you also kind of go back to, I think, what was it? The interview that Punk had and talked. I think it was Logan. He talked about Kevin, or him and Kevin Owens were in a little promo, and he mentioned how Kevin lost to Logan Paul, and it's like that specific moment where it started to roll down, where Punk eventually got eliminated in the Rumble by Logan Paul, and then you have the interaction with Logan Paul and CM Punk, like in this past Raw. So now that they're both going to be in the chamber, it almost feels like there's a setup here. Like there is eventually might be a CM Punk Logan Paul match at Mania. So what do you guys think about that? We're going CM Punk triple threat or CM Punk Logan Paul?
Either or, triple threat, but that's great for the generations to be, because Logan Paul's a YouTuber, and the young generation who jumped into wrestling that followed him, dude, and then they could get into a CM Punk.
Yeah.
And now we could go look at who CM Punk is and why he's so big. So I think this is great. And then if you add a John Cena right on a triple threat, wow.
Well, I would say for John Cena, would it be a triple threat with that match? Because we all clearly want to see Cena in a more prominent main event match type of thing at Mania. So it would either kind of going back to either we see like a Logan Paul and CM Punk, or do we see CM Punk integrated with John Cena and Cody Rhodes?
Ooh. Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too big for it. Yeah. Logan, is he that big in the league that he could go into? Ooh.
Well, Logan's held his own. I think, like you said, to your point also, the whole generational aspect of the fans that he's brought into pro wrestling, right? But then you also have the hardcores that know CM Punk. You have that fan base, and you got diehard CM Punk fans out there. So you got those two. And I could kind of see this going where CM Punk puts Logan Paul over, for that matter, at Mania. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting just because those two could probably spit on the mic as well. I would love to see a little bit of more exchanges between them. But and I think
it could.
I think the whole Cena and Cody Rhodes thing, that alone stands to me as a big main event.
I think. So this is how I look at it. So this is Cena's last run. And of course, we all want to see Cena do it one more time, right? Win the championship one more time. But at the same time, I've really enjoyed CM Punk since he's come back to the WWE.
That's a first. That's a first. We actually got that in camera here, guys.
Yeah. I'll admit it.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
That whole stint when he was in AEW, I did not enjoy CM Punk during that. I felt like his ego was getting way too much in the way. I understand that, AEW, when he was in there, he might have been running into a situation like how he was in WWE back before he left. He was unhappy, and when CM Punk is unhappy, he shows it, right? He wears it on his sleeve. He's not one of those guys that hides it.
Yeah.
But I have been enjoying CM Punk since he came back to the WWE. Okay. He's really fell into the role of, I'm still going to wrestle. I'm still a main event guy, but I also want to bring guys up, and create the next generation.
Okay.
So I feel like putting CM Punk, John Cena, and Cody in a triple threat for the title would be doing a disservice to CM Punk. Okay. I feel like he'd be the third wheel.
Okay. That's a good point.
So I think that's a bad idea to have a triple threat. What I think would be a good thing to do is, and this is just me spitting out an idea, Logan Paul versus CM Punk at Mania, which it would Logan Paul, give him his props too, bro. He's put out some really good matches.
Yeah.
Logan Paul versus CM Punk. We'll have John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Have John Cena go over. Let him have his last title. And then build up a program with CM Punk and John Cena at SummerSlam. Let the passing of the torch happen. Give CM Punk the title at SummerSlam. let CM Punk run the title all the way until WrestleMania and go over then and let him walk out as the champ. Give CM Punk his moment. And that could be the way of giving CM Punk his Mania moment.
Okay.
Right? It'll take one more year, but I think that way you could make everybody happy, right? And you wouldn't be doing a disservice to anybody.
I see what you're saying, and you make very good valid points. I actually would go against some of that stuff here, and here's kind of my rationale, right? So, like, I kind of starting off with the whole Cena winning the title at Mania. I don't see him winning the title at Mania. I personally don't want to see Cena win the title at Mania. I will say this, though. The trajectory of how John Cena's last year will as a champion would probably have to have him on TV more. And I don't think he can commit to that. Now, and clearly the IWC has, I think they have pretty strong emotions about having a part-time major title holder, on TV. And that would kind of be the route with John Cena winning the title at Mania, right? Now, I like how you kind of told the context as to why. But this is how I kind of see it. Because with Cena being on the way out at the end of this year, I think there was talks about having a Ruthless Aggression PLE at the end where it would be his last actual WWE match, right? Or his match entirely. Where I see him actually, if he's going to win the title, it's going to happen on that night. Kind of like the Trish Stratus thing where she retired, and I believe she won the title off of Lita and retired with the belt. So it got vacated eventually, right? I see more of that happening if they decide to put the title back on Cena and to break the record. That's my opinion. Now, with the CM Punk thing, I do want to see him running back with Cena. I don't know if it has to be for a title. It would make more sense if it was for a title, specifically to you saying them meeting at SummerSlam. But I honestly think here, when we look at these guys specifically, CM Punk and Logan Paul at Mania would be great just because it's a fresh matchup. I think the big thing also is IWC is very critical about having fresh matchups versus something that's been repetitive over time or things that we feel like, the outcome's going to be predictable. Hey, this is nothing. If you want fresh, this is fresh. Logan Paul, the guy is he's been doing his thing, and credit where credit's due. He's an ultimate performer, in my opinion. You don't have to agree with his outside antics beyond WWE performer, but the dude shows out. He is clearly one of the most athletic. The guy also cuts promos. Gets genuine heel heat. And then you got CM Punk, the other guy that's, he's also mixed emotions between different fan bases. But for the most part on WWE television, he is over as a babyface. The guy spits on the mic. Put these two together. I think they have a really great program leading to Mania. They can definitely make things happen before then. And then, Cody and Cena. I know there's all those memes, right? We got Homelander versus the Homelander Cody, and then we got Peacemaker Cena. Hey, I'm all for it. You guys want to throw them in those gimmicks also? I'm all for it. But the main thing here, the main thing here, in my opinion, is those two should be a matchup, for the ages, two generational champions in their right. This year, this being Cody's moment, or him being the generational champion he is at this moment. And then, of course, Cena. What's to say about Cena that we haven't said? The guy's the GOAT. He's clearly one title win short of breaking Ric Flair's record. So, hey, you know what? That alone right there. A lot of foundation, long-term storytelling in its own right because of the things that they have under their resume. Let's go. Let's do this. I don't have anything wrong against this.
Yeah, no, and you know what's great about it too is that, and you're talking about fresh matches, is that Logan Paul, while he's not on TV all the time, while he doesn't wrestle all the time, he's won enough matches where it feels like a credible threat that he could beat CM Punk.
Absolutely.
It doesn't look like it's going to be. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be a squash match at all. It's legit. Like Logan Paul could probably beat CM Punk.
Yeah.
So I think they'll have a good match.
Yeah, and I think that like even going back to that time when Logan Paul and Roman Reigns had their match in Crown Jewel, right? They booked Logan pretty strong, even though there was like a lot of outside interference and antics. The dude held his own against Roman, and like, gosh, Roman's like the upper echelon. He's at that time like being the champion, tribal chief, the guy, the guy in pro wrestling at that moment. You know what? Like he again. I got to give credit where credit's due. You know, Logan Paul's legit. You know, at the end of the day, him and CM Punk for me at Mania is the match to make amongst those two. And then I'm definitely on board with the whole Cody and Cena thing. So like, you know, like that being, you know, like two other matches, you know, that we're talking about heading there, you know, potentially happening. Hey, we still got the women's, guys. Like, let's chime in on this. We got Charlotte, winner of the Women's Royal Rumble. She picked Tiffany Stratton. So, how are you guys feeling here?
Well, you guys talking about the passing of the torches, right? If that's what it is, because
is it? Do you feel like that's the case?
Well, I mean, like with her, because she's a little older, right? Charlotte, she's still trying to prove that she could rock, right? And then when I was watching that thing, and Tiffany was saying, I keep getting, or it doesn't have to be a passing to a torch, but prove you're who you are then. Because Tiffany was saying she was getting compared to her all the time. And I didn't know that. And now that I am familiar with Tiffany and I am familiar with Charlotte, I would love to see that collide then. Like does that happen? If that's happening, I want to see that instead of right? Like,
no, it's happening.
Tiffany gonna run into?
Nobody now. It's Charlotte. It's after SmackDown. Like it's clear indication from SmackDown. Charlotte and Tiffany at Mania. Yeah,
Battle of the Moonsaults again. It's gonna be
that's
gorgeous. Yeah, dude. This is another good one. I'm excited for this. Yeah. So maybe not the passing of the torch, but I like how Tiffany was like, dude, I keep getting compared to you, man. And then the fact that she said, well, you want to match with me? Beg, girl. That's so me. I'm like, dude, another one. That's like the women. That's cool. Let's go. Charlotte, because Charlotte is like, hey, man, y'all must have forgot who I am, right? So she's gonna reacquaint with everyone, I guess.
Well, she's been off of TV due to injuries, and you know, I think winning the Rumble, there was clearly mixed emotions about that outcome. I think Nick, if you're probably going to chime in on this part here, not happy about her winning after missing so much time. Where are you leaning on this?
Ooh, I remember first episode, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, like, of course, Charlotte's another one of those, man. You know, there's so much memes about her. Infinite Money in the Bank winner. Now, apparently, infinite Royal Rumble winner, or at least top 3 Royal Rumble placer, right? But at the same time, I can't deny where, you know, Charlotte pulls the numbers. She can wrestle. She's a great wrestler. She has the genes of her dad, right? And unfortunately, while that comes with the good wrestling talent, that probably means she'll be wrestling until she's like 100 years old, which I think.
I don't know, those injuries. The injuries though kind of slow things down.
Yeah. No, you know what? I had mixed feelings on Charlotte winning because yes, she's been off of TV for a while, and she is really good at making sure that the women's division stays relevant. She's a good wrestler. She draws the numbers. She draws eyes to the screen, right? But at the same time, when I'm watching WWE, we really are in a transition point where we're watching a lot of these young stars come up, and they're really trying to make a name for themselves. Because if you look at it, like Seth Rollins has been around for a long time. Roman has been around for a long time. Bro, a lot of the established stars are, I want to say, within the last third of their career. Yeah. So at any time, they could just retire, get permanently injured, something. God forbid, right?
Yeah.
But, and even in the women's division, like when they brought back Nikki Bella, I know that was for nostalgia purposes, but it's like you see a lot of the established girls, Charlotte Flair, what's her face, Seth's wife,
Becky. the man.
Becky
The
Lynch.
man.
Yeah, all of these girls have been here for a while, and at any point they could just leave, right?
Yeah.
Becky's been off of TV for a long time.
Yeah.
And because the women's roster is so stacked, and you're giving Tiffany Stratton the time to really build herself up. She's built a fan base. She's over.
Yeah.
And even though she's a heel, people are cheering for her.
I don't know if she's like a heel now because of how things transpired, right?
Right. So she's kind of like floating in the middle right now to me. Like she's trying to be a heel, but she's having a hard time being a heel because everybody's cheering for her.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like the anti-hero kind of thing where everybody likes her.
Anti-hero, I like that.
Right. So and I'm not sure how I feel about if they feed her to Charlotte. I almost feel like Charlotte should just take the L and help build up Stratton, but I don't know where to go after Charlotte if Charlotte just flat out loses to Tiffany, right?
Right.
I'm kind of mixed on this one, I'll be honest.
So I will piggyback off of what you're talking about here, because now this kind of I'm gonna kind of have to allude into the fact like why this was a good move for Charlotte to win the Rumble, because when we look at this whole situation, Charlotte could have picked Rhea. We knew she was gonna pick Julia, but it is interesting. She is going down to SmackDown and choosing Tiffany as her opponent for Mania. Now, again, we're talking about how some of these veteran talent are kind of like on the latter part of their career, right? Because we can't expect them to run the schedule that a lot of the younger talent is doing at the moment. And clearly, we want to see newer stars evolve over time. So Charlotte winning the Rumble may have seemed like such a easy move for WWE, and just kind of like, here, hand her the trophy again because she's Charlotte Flair. She's Ric Flair's daughter. I think a lot of people kind of gravitated to that whole notion, but I now see how this is actually the right choice, because you got Tiffany Stratton. She clearly was on the uprise, winning the Money in the Bank. She cashed in on Nia. Their feud clearly ended this past SmackDown because of them now transitioning towards the Mania matchup. And she has the fan base. She is clearly one of the newer up-and-coming talents for WWE, specific and also a organic talent of WWE for that matter, right? Because she came out in the and the Next in Line group. So you're talking about somebody that's organically grown within the WWE foundation, and you are now gonna put the belt on her. She's clearly gonna have to be on Mania. Why not feed her to Charlotte Flair? Because here we have a situation where, yes, Charlotte should take the L. Yes, Charlotte should put Tiffany over. Clearly, they have athletic abilities that match each other's in their own right, in their own respect of the things that they're able to do in the ring. Now, where I do see a challenge for Tiffany is matching Charlotte on the mic, because there have been moments where Tiffany's kind of like a little bit hesitant and hasn't really been able to like counter Charlotte, but I think that's gonna smooth itself over the next few weeks leading into their Mania match. But the whole overall outlook of this is we're taking a well-established veteran in Charlotte, where we can trust that she's going to help carry the match and make it where Tiffany comes out as a stronger champion. And I'm all on board for that, because at the end of the day, everybody, go back to the Four Horsewomen, and even like Nikki Bella for that matter, like people that like the veterans of the women's division, they're all kind of like tied into their own thing right now. And Charlotte, being Charlotte Flair, yes, her putting over Tiffany Stratton at Mania is going to be the right call. And I see why this call, or why the choice was made for her to win the Rumble, because inserting her into that main event picture and then putting Tiffany over, I think it's a win-win situation here. And to your point, Nick, where does Charlotte go after that? Hey, they can run it back. I think they can potentially run it back and elongate that feud post-Mania. It just makes Tiffany look stronger because she is again working with somebody that's well established, and maybe she gets better on the mic along the way too. So hey, I'm all for this.
And I wanna circle back to Charlotte Flair. The point you made about them trusting Charlotte Flair to help make the match look really good. I want to point out that while Rhea Ripley had always been on my radar, I didn't really, really, really like think of her as like one of those main event people, or really like was super over until she wrestled with Charlotte Flair. I mean, Charlotte made her look really good in that championship match.
Yeah.
I mean, Charlotte did a really good job. I mean, it wasn't lost on me that Charlotte put her over. And Charlotte did a really good job in that match. And I mean, of course, Rhea showed up. Rhea's a really good wrestler, but as a wrestling fan, as a long-time wrestling fan, there's stuff that you notice during certain matches, and Charlotte 100% put Rhea over in that match, and she made her look really good.
Yeah, and like not to go off the cuff here, or I'm sorry, Kazu.
No. I was just gonna say, man, that's awesome to hear for developmental purposes. If they're gonna do the same for like the Tiffany Strattons and stuff, like with Charlotte on her way out, let's go ahead and polish up the girls and let them elevate their potential working with her. Yeah. Wow. I got to go watch that too then. The way she did Rhea.
Watch everything.
When you get with these stars, I love that you guys saw the development. That's freaking dope. Like I come back in the game like already getting the Jey Usos with star power, the Rhea Ripleys with the star power. Like, dude, like, good stuff, man.
I do want to say, like, the Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley dynamic, they're so complementary to each other. That's why I never had an issue if they ran it back like a trilogy at Mania. I think that's potentially going to happen at some point as well. But for this moment, because of who is also champion, who is the champion of the other brand, I think it's a right call here. Outside of that, that's going to be something interesting to look out. And we still have the other title out there. I believe it's who's the other women's title on Raw? I'm sorry, Rhea. We're gonna eventually find out what happens from Chamber, right? Like who ends up coming out of that, eventually being Rhea's opponent for Mania. So that would be interesting. I don't want to like dive into too much of that yet because we haven't really seen what's gonna be the I would say like the full participant outlook on that Chamber matchup. But there is also some of these other things that are being teased on television. I'm not sure if you guys saw Bron and AJ. There was a little interaction on Raw, like kind of happening backstage. Again, we were kind of like going back to what we just talked about in terms of like the veterans, kind of like elevating some of the younger talent. Right? I'm starting to see a trend here. You got somebody like what's not to say about AJ? Like AJ Styles. He's been so relevant in the industry for so long and such a great worker at his age doing the things he's done. It's still amazing to see. Like I know he's coming off of an injury as well, coming back into the Rumble. But yeah, like putting him against Braun, like how do you guys feel about this matchup here? Like that's teasing crazy. They're teasing it, and they got the Intercontinental title like that could also play into this, right?
Man, that like to go off that, coming back from injury, this Braun guy, barely knowing him, but he's like my what's his name, Rhino. This guy just spears through everything and big impact. But then AJ Styles, phenomenal guy, but coming back from injury, you want to extend. I want to watch AJ for a little longer. You want to extend your career. Do you want to use Braun as the guy to elevate? Like, because this guy looks unsafe. I'm not dissing him though. If he ever Mr. Braun Breaker, I'm not saying that you're not responsible and you're not a professional. You don't hone your skills. You look unsafe for me to work with. Like you are. Like that guy's speed. I got it. Like, come on. You guys must have prepped him, but there's no way. Like he looks unsafe to work with. This like put him in there with the more durable guy right now. Like, but phenomenal AJ Styles, dude. He could. That matchup is just awesome, man. That's a scary guy too, though. Yeah, coming off an injury. Oh Lord.
Yeah, and AJ's one of those guys, dude. He's everything that he gets, he deserves it, bro. He's just been he's one of those guys. He's just been consistent throughout his whole career. He's put out really great matches. And he's able to elevate everybody else while still elevating himself.
Yeah.
I think AJ is and
yes.
AJ versus Bron. I think it would be a good one, especially because you have two different styles.
Yes.
Styles of wrestling that would be clashing. And even if AJ loses to Bron, AJ would lose nothing. Honestly, AJ is just that one of those. He's one of those guys. He's just that good of an in-ring entertainer that he would lose nothing losing to Bron. So I think even if they put Bron over in that situation, I still think at the end of the day, both of them would walk out of that match winners, bro.
Yeah,
that's always a good one too.
Yeah, and outside of like Braun retaining the IC title, he would have a lot to gain from this match, just because you got a great worker like AJ to kind of counter your style, like to your point, very contrasting style.
Yeah.
And gosh, like, you know, like Braun's elevated himself to be a very prominent performer on TV at the moment, not just holding the IC title, but the dude's just got that look. He's just got that feel. Like, you know, his showing in the Royal Rumble was another thing I'll point out. You know, like that spear that hit not just on Io, but he speared the tribal chief, guys. So it's kind of like
yes, he did.
A little is you know, like what they're allowing him to do on TV is showing that they're on board with them. You know what I mean? And I think pairing him against AJ is another like I never would have saw that coming, to be honest. But again, tying into like this theme here, right? We got veterans elevating the younger generation, like, or the future of the business, and all on top of that, you know, like I'll say this, you know, like I think this matchup is another fresh matchup that we never saw coming. So we keep talking about we want to see fresh matchups. Here we go. So
here was one.
Say no more. You know, you're gonna, if this is what that's gonna end up being, hey, I'm on board for that too. Because I can't really say like if there was gonna be an alternative to this, I do think WWE would probably put the IC title kind of in like one of those like ladder match type of scenarios, which multiple you know, participants. But that kind of also has that whole, oh great, you know, like they're just defaulting to this again. You know what I mean? Like, because it's just easy for them to put more talent on the card and, you know, integrate that into like the mix here. But hey, yeah, you want to you want to make the IC title a little bit more engaging with an actual feud that seems enticing. Hey, I'm on board for this. I liked it. I'm down. And then lastly, guys, on the SmackDown brand, we're starting to see a little bit of LA Knight Drew McIntyre loading. And this kind of like seems to be coming off of that whole incident from the Royal Rumble, right? A lot of dirt sheets were kind of throwing it out there. Drew was unhappy with the way his elimination transpired because somebody was trying to get their, you know, their things in before the elimination. It took away from the moment. I think it slowly came out that LA Knight was the guy that he was upset about. And then they had that following week on SmackDown. LA Knight drew, you know, he cut that promo, right? Did the whole mental health promo, which was, to me, one of like a really good promo. Touching on that, you know, on all seriousness, that's something that should be highlighted. But then right, like I think Nick, the way you put it, hit him with the 1-2 Pikachu. Dug right into Drew, right? Like he dug right into Drew, and I just see that happening as well. Like, what do you guys think? Is that the right call here?
That was a solid dig, bro. It was just his timing was impeccable on how he did that. You know what I mean? Like you felt the gravity and seriousness of that subject that he was talking about, and then he just bam, like sucker punches Drew with that comment. It was like, dude, it was so well timed. It wasn't ill placed or anything. You know what I mean? He got two messages across at one time. It was well put together. Drew versus LA Knight. I think it's going to be a good match because I mean, Drew is one of those guys. He really does know how to hold a match together.
Yeah. And
LA Knight, hey bro, LA Knight's coming into his own. He's really good in the ring as well. I don't think he's as good as Drew, but I think with Drew helping him through the match, I think that's going to be a good match.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Same, man. This Drew, his Claymore. Is that what it's called? Claymore?
Yeah. Claymore.
Dude, he hits that out of nowhere from me, and it just lands and impacts every time. I don't think someone's getting up every time he hits that. And the fact that LA Knight, man, he got this, he has this type of persona, this aura for me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 2 messages at once. 2 messages at once. I was there. After I was serious too, because you know me, I'm like, oh, where's he going with it? All right, cool. Bow. What? To cook him.
Bro, and you know what? At this point, I'm starting to wonder if the dirt sheets are in cahoots with WWE. Like they're using it to further the storylines. You know what I mean?
I actually think it's the opposite. I don't think they really know what's going on, and I feel like WWE's taking like they're trolling them.
Yeah,
I feel like they're
taking advantage of it.
Yeah, like I was like, okay, you want to make it seem like you know, but I look at it as like they're just ultimately trolling them like on TV once in a while, because like that one line right there with LA Knight saying, "Oh, I forgot to get my stuff in," because that was like the whole narrative, right? Like, oh,
yeah, right.
So like it's like they're like the troll on that part of it, and then like I think back at the Rumble, there were like commentators saying like, oh, like Alexa Bliss, like, oh, I thought she wasn't supposed to be coming back. You know what I mean? And then Wade Barrett specifically said, don't read the dirt sheets. So I think they're just trolling them at this point because, to what Triple H says, like they don't know what's going on. But that's just what's being said out there. And I do want to throw this out there too. Like, I don't have this on my notes, but, I think we're also seeing a little bit, we'll wrap up on this part. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, kind of like foundation going on here. So we don't really have to go too far into this, but I think like there's a little bit of teasing on this part. These guys haven't had an actual match against each other on the Mania platform, so I obviously see like some rumblings of this happening as well. What do you guys think?
I wouldn't be surprised if this happened. We know what Sami and Kevin can do, right? They're both excellent performers in the ring, and we know they have history already. So we already know if they put on a match, it's going to be one hell of a match.
Yep.
The question for that match, though, is what are they going to do to make it special? Because, like I said, we already know what they can do. We already know they're going to put on a good match, but will they do anything to make it stand out? And I'm sure they will.
Kind of like a match
Kevin
stipulation?
No, it doesn't have to be a match stipulation, but maybe like a specific spot where they put on a specific spot, something that's really special for that specific match, or you know what I mean? Just what are they gonna do to make that specific match stand out compared to what they've already done in the past?
Right.
Yeah, and bro, that pile driver that Kevin Owens has been doing recently, that shit is gnarly, dude.
Yeah,
that thing is crazy.
He makes you believe like he's really out there to hurt people, right?
He does.
Yeah.
Like freaking menace.
That thing is
like,
crazy.
what are you doing?
Yeah. I'll say this: Kevin Owens is kind of like the Drew McIntyre of last year, right now, and in a good way, obviously, because it's like, dude's like been like a top heel right now, and I love watching Kevin Owens being a heel for that matter. It's just so much. He does so much that is like so captivating on TV. And like this feud with Sami, long-term storytelling clearly here. These two have history outside of WWE and being longtime friends, and seeing a rivalry between them is really nothing short of being epic. So I would love to. I do not mind this happening as well. But as we get closer to Mania, guys, there's a lot still to be told and a lot to be kind of definite, I would say. So we'll continue to stay in tune, and at the same time, we're here to talk about it. Don't forget to subscribe. Any of you current viewers, new viewers, appreciate you guys joining us today. Other than that, we out.